Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how to set up xmonad to follow the XDG configuration specification and store its configuration file in .config xmonad instead of .xmonad in your home directory. I'll also show you how to set xmonad with two displays and get the mouse to move to the correct display. Setting up notifications on the desktop when you have an urgent window, and also how you can get xmonad working properly with Ubuntu. So first of all, what I'll do is show you how I've got my xmonad file stored in config xmonad.hs instead of the default, which would be xmonad xmonad.hs in your home directory. And the reason why you want to do this is because it's going to clean up your home directory from a lot of files. So basically there's two steps to this. First of all, what you need to actually do is create the configuration directory and also a secondary directory in local share. If I look in my config directory, you'll see I've got xmonad down here, as well as a lot of other applications that use the XDG specification to store the configuration files in your .config folder. So basically the steps are: you need to create the .config xmonad directory. That's step one, and you're going to copy your xmonad.hs file into that directory. So if I look here, okay, you'll see there's the .hs file here, and these two other files, the .hi and .o, are actually created when you sort of start up xmonad. It kind of compiles them, I'm guessing. Now the second directory that you need to create to get this working is the local share xmonad. So that's the second directory you need to create, is local share xmonad. And if I open that here, you can see we've actually got the xmonad binary that's created. And now normally what happens is if you don't set up xmonad to follow XDG specifications, what happens is these two files will be stored by default in your .xmonad directory along with the configuration file. So this is good because it separates out the configuration file from the actual binary. So again, the two steps: you create the .config in your home directory, .config xmonad. So that's the first directory to create, and the second directory is the local share xmonad. Now once you've done that and you've copied the configuration file into here, basically all you need to do, best way to do this is, normally in your home directory you would have the configuration file in your home directory be .xmonad. Basically all you need to do is, you can do this while xmonad is running. I don't have the xmonad file here, but you would, for instance, you'd just do mv xmonad to rename it to xmonad in your home directory. And once you've done that, you just basically restart xmonad using the default keyboard shortcut, which is more Shift Q, I think, from memory. That will then restart xmonad, and it will then start to use the configuration file in the .config xmonad directory. And once you've done that, you can then delete the original xmonad file that you renamed the directory, the .xmonad directory. You can just remove that because it will then use the XDG specifications to pick up the configuration file from config xmonad, xmonad.hs. So this is good because one, it cleans up the home directory, it keeps all your configuration files in one place, and it also separates out the xmonad binary from the configuration file. So that's how you set up xmonad with XDG. Next thing I'm going to cover is actually using xmonad with two displays. Two things to note is I can't actually show you the two displays at the same time I'm recording, but basically what happens by default is you have if you press the mod key and W, it shifts focus from to the left monitor, and if you press the mod key and E, it shifts focus to the right monitor. But there's one problem: the mouse doesn't follow. So what happens is, suppose I'm on this monitor, and by default, what will happen is when you shift, when you press mod W, yeah, focus will shift from this desktop to your other desktop, but the mouse will stay here, and that's really, really annoying. So basically, what it means is, by default, what will happen is whenever you switch displays, the mouse remains on the same display, it doesn't move across. So what happens is you're then having to move the mouse back and forward across the displays, which is no good. However, there is a solution for this, and it is to actually import this library, import xmonad actions update pointer. And what this will do is it will update the position of the mouse pointer whenever you switch displays. And you have some options, which I'll just come down and see if I remember where they are. If I come across, there's actually some options when you switch displays, and if I can remember where everything is, update pointer, yeah, right down here at the bottom. So at the end of your main, what you have is you have the opening brackets, and this is the closing brackets. The additional keys go after the close bracket here, but the update pointer section goes here at the previous closing bracket. And basically what this does is this is actually going to position the mouse pointer to the sort of kind of top left whenever I switch displays. So I'm on this display and I switch across to the to my other display, what will happen is the mouse pointer will appear sort of in the top left, which is kind of where you'd want it, you know, just starting to write. You know, you're going to want your mouse pointer here, not, you can set it into the middle of the screen. And if I just cross xmonad update pointer, okay, update pointer, and for some reason I have to do that. Okay, and you can see here, these are the options that you have. So the options I'm using are these ones here, which is near top left. If you wanted the exact center of the window, you do 0.5, 0.5, 0,0. Have a look at the update pointer package if you're using two displays, because it's absolutely essential, because otherwise what will happen is your mouse won't follow focus, it will just remain in place, which is no good at all. So that's how you set the mouse pointer to follow focus when you switch displays, is by adding this bit of code down here at the bottom of your main. second, that's not the end curly brace, that's the second curly brace. And the other thing that you need to do is actually import the library, the xmonad actions update pointer library. So that's how you set up a pointer. Now the other couple of things I want to go through are actually one of them is using xmonad with Ubuntu. So I've just got some notes here on how you disable the graphical login on Ubuntu and why you want to do that when you're running xmonad. Basically, what happens is with Ubuntu, you set you set a password for your computer, encrypts the hard drive, and when you boot up the computer, you get graphical login saying enter your password to decrypt the hard drive, and it decrypts it, and then it goes on to the boot screen where you get graphical login, where you can select your user, type in name, and select the type of session you're going to run, like Ubuntu xmonad. And what happens is if you run xmonad with graphical login, what it's going to do is it will start xmonad using GNOME flashback, so that it will run a GNOME session. And what this means is that a lot of the GNOME settings then kind of carry over into your xmonad session. But what it means is you still can't open Ubuntu administration applications like the GNOME Software Center. You can open it and you click something and it'll crash and you won't be able to open it again. So the problem is you can't use any of the GNOME software when you're in xmonad even if you've started xmonad from the graphical GUI and you're running it as a no flashback session. The other issue is what will happen is GNOME will then set your desktop wallpaper, and the reason this is a pain is because applications like Fade, which you use to set the desktop wallpaper, can't set the wallpaper if you're running GNOME. So the only way I figured out how to do is use xroot to actually set a solid color, because otherwise it goes up the desktop wallpaper. What also happens if the wallpaper is not set correctly with xmonad, what will happen is if you open another workspace, what will happen is normally when I select another workspace here, so if I switch here, you can see it comes as my wallpaper here. What happens is if you don't have the wallpaper set correctly, it will actually display this window on the next workspace, kind of like as a background. It will sort of set this window as the wallpaper on desktop, which is really confusing because you think you're interacting with the window, but it's not. It's kind of displaying a window as a wallpaper. So basically, you might think it's a good idea to start xmonad with a nice GUI, so it's pretty and everything. But the problem is you can't use any of the GNOME software to administer stuff. The GNOME Control Center. It's going to bugger up your wallpaper and make it really difficult. So what you actually need to do on Ubuntu is actually disable the graphical login screen for both the password that comes up that you have to enter to decrypt your drive, and also you have to edit the grub file to set it to be a text-only login. So basically, on Ubuntu, what you need to do to get xmonad to start up using startx instead of using a graphical login, what you would do is you'd run sudo systemctl set default multi-user target. That disables graphical login. We also disable GDM3 by running sudo systemctl disable gdm.3.service. And the next thing that you actually need to do is you need to edit the default grub. And what you have to do is so you edit the default grub and you change the text, you change the login to just use text. So what you do is go in, edit the file, make a copy of this line of the grub command line default line, comment it out, and on the new line that you've copied, you set it to text. Okay, so edit the file, copy, comment out this line and copy it. Comment out the original, create a copy and put in text and save it. And then what you need to do is run sudo update grub. And then once you've done that and you reboot, you will get a command line prompt to enter your password to decrypt the drive. And then after that, you will get a terminal where you would log in, username, password, and then you'd run startx, and it would start xmonad. And say the reason you want to do this is because you can't use any of the known stuff. It doesn't work. It will just crash. It's going to bug up your wallpaper and cause confusion. And also, starting xmonad on the command line allows you to use xinitrc to specify different options that you want to happen when xmonad boots up. Now the other thing is on Ubuntu is actually starting the SSH agent. You can use on the known desktop. You have Seahorse, password and keys. This is where your should key is stored, and basically because it's a known session, it will kind of like start the SSH agent, so that you can use SSH add and then add your key. But normally, what I would do on Freebsd is actually in my xinitrc file, I would execute agent and then start xmonad. But on Ubuntu, what you want to do is actually use systemd to start the SSH agent, and do that by creating the systemd user ssh-agent.service file in your configuration directory, which will look like this. You then will actually use systemctl --user enable shush agent service. I'm on Freebsd, so I'm not going to write out the command because it wouldn't work. And you'd start it. The other thing that you actually need to do is, if I come across into my Ubuntu files down here and into my zshrc file, if I just come down to the bottom, the last thing you need to do is add this line, export ssh auth sock equals xdg runtime directory shush agent.socket, and that will basically allow you to, once you've got this set up, it will allow you to run ssh-add and add your shush key, which will then be cached for the duration of your session. So that's how you set up. I switched back pages. That's how you set up the shush agent using systemd on Ubuntu, and why you want to do that. Whereas on Freebsd, if I just bring up my terminal, can see down at the bottom here, execute ssh-agent user bin xmonad, and basically what that does is whenever I start SSH, whenever I start startx to start xmonad, it's going to execute the shush agent only once, only when I start xmonad. So there's only going to be one copy of the shush agent running. So if you're not using systemd, basically if you're on Linux you will be. This is how you start it as opposed to using systemd. So that's setting up the SSH agent on Ubuntu and disabling the graphical login screen because the GNOME session is going to interfere with xmonad, not in a good way. If there could be a way to interfere with xmonad, but basically you want to disable the graphical login for xmonad and for GNOME, because otherwise it's going to cause issues. So the other thing that I was going to cover is the urgency hook. Now if I come across to this page here, and I can sort of zoom in a bit, using notify OSD for xmonad notifications, and I copied this guy's code. It came from about 7 or 8 years ago, but it still works, which is one of the nice things about xmonad. You can find bits of code from literally 10 plus years ago that still work. Now basically what this does, this uses notify send, which is a desktop application. It's a desktop notification program, so that if I copy this and you can see it prints up a message here. So that's using doesnt. So in my xmonad configuration file, as a startup option, I spawn once doesnt and put it in the background. So you need to install doesnt first on your operating system if it's not installed already. And basically what this will allow us to do is have desktop notifications when there is a urgent window on another workspace, and it will pop up a desktop notification. So what I'll do is I'll show you how this actually works and what you need to do to get this set up. So the first thing is to actually import the xmonad urgency hook. So let me just come across here and show you the options. If you follow along here, we've got the urgency hook, name Windows, run, import qualify xmonad set as W, which I already have these options enabled here, urgency hook, and the other options. So those are the first options that you need to add, and then once you've got these in your xmonad configuration files, what we do is we have this chunk of code down here, which we're going to put into our xmonad configuration file, basically here. So we've got this bit of code, we imported libraries, we put in the bit of code, and finally what you need to do is update main to say urgency hook libnotify urgency hook, and I'll show you what this does in a second. So if I come down to my main section down here, scroll down, you can see xmonad $sign with urgency hook libnotify urgency hook $sign the EWMH, which is a desktop sort of helper configuration, and then the desktop configuration file. Now basically once we've done that, what this will do is if I open a terminal on another workspace and switch away from that workspace, it will pop up notification saying there's something urgent happening on your workspace. So I'll show you how it works. So if I go across here and open the terminal, I'll put that in and switch back. Okay, ZSH workspace 4. The other thing that you actually need to do is update your terminal client. You could use desktop applications. It should sort of pop up. The other thing I should mention is I don't have the xmobile running up here on this display. In case you're wondering why there's nothing up there. My main computer died, the hard drive died, so I'm using a sort of 2011 MacBook Air running Freebsd connected to an external monitor, and I hadn't set up xmobile to have two instances run, one on the laptop display and one on this one. That's why, just because I forgot. I haven't really missed to have it on two because it can be a bit confusing. But again, the next step, you need to actually update your terminal settings, and this would be in your X resources file. So for urxvt, which is the terminal I'm using, we would apply these settings in the X resources file. If you're using a different terminal, then you will have to have a hunt around to see what the configuration option is that is the same as this one for your terminal. So that's basically how you can set up desktop notifications so that when something's urgent on a workspace, it's going to pop up a nice desktop notification. And the other thing that I'll do is, if I come across to my dot files, is in config doesnt, the doesnt.rc file, and basically you will have a default copy of the doesnt.rc file, which will probably be stored in your somewhere. Some usually like use a local docs or something. It depends on your system. But if you do a as root, I'm using double-s, I'm on Freebsd, so if you're on Linux, you'd use sudo find root iname, that's case insensitive search for the name, and we search for doesnt.rc, and that will then show you the location of the default configuration file. You would then copy that to your config doesnt directory, and these are some of the options that you can sort of set to change the padding, the frame color, the background color, the font. You can actually set it to use icons done years ago. You can actually set it to have a pretty icon for different things. Lots of stuff like shortcuts to close the notifications, and different settings for colours for the different urgency of the notification. So if you've got something really urgent, you can set the colour to bright red, whereas normal one would be, whatever default colour you want. So that's basically how you set up Dunst and the urgency hook on xmonad, so that you're going to have a nice pretty notification when something requires your attention on another workspace. So that's how you set up desktop notifications. So let me just go through the configuration file and just see if there's anything I've sort of missed or that I've updated that sort of springs to mind. These are just all these sort of variables. These are basically all the libraries I'm sort of importing for various configuration options with xmonad. These are all the variables. That was the desktop notifications. this is where you spawn doesnt in your start hook. You could also, I suppose, set that in your xinitrc file. There are some things that probably better to start in your xinitrc file rather than start a hook, but you need to sort of play around and see if you've got any issues with the applications you're starting when you log in. That's the sort of layout, window rules. I don't think there's anything I missed in there. No, and this is the lib notify urgency hook. Again, the update pointer down there. So that's a couple of things with xmonad. Another thing that I actually wanted to show you, if I come across to another workspace, actually I'll see if I can increase the size of this. Nice and big. And what I'll do is put this into tiling mode, and I'll open another window and increase the size of this one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm opening the W3M browser, which allows me to browse website in the command line, and I'll show you why I'm going to do that. So I'm coming across into YouTube, and I'm going to do a search for an old house tune, 169, and sometimes I get this weird thing when it will take to the search page incorrectly. Okay, so this is the actual song, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open NCMPC, which is the MPD client. MPD is a music player. It's a daemon that runs in the background. You can connect to different clients. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to send this. I've shown this in a previous video. Is that I can take a link from YouTube with a custom script I've written and send the audio stream to NCMPC and MPD player. And what will happen is it will play the audio, and down here it will show you the URL, which will just be like a big, Google video URL, which doesn't, there isn't a way to get the metadata from the video from the audio. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to click this link here, and we're going to grab the audio stream and send it across to MPD. But the audio stream doesn't have any metadata in it, so it doesn't have the song title in it. Okay, so there isn't a way to send the link here into MPD and have it display the name of the song that's played. It will only display the URL. So to get around that, this is what I've come up with. If I can actually press the right keyboard shortcut. Okay, now playing the Rat Twins Who Do 69. You can see here, I stopped that. That's the actual URL that's coming across. Yeah, there isn't a way to change that because that's just the URL. It doesn't have any metadata for the song title or anything in it. So come across and try something else. Let's see, and I'll show you the code. For some reason, it tends to do that with occasionally with W3M. So first come across Untitled Tune, and the keyboard shortcut to find here is to escape M, to escape shift M, to shift M. I think it was, wasn't it? If I can no, to escape M. Oh, no, there we go. It's doing it now. It just took a second to kick in, probably because I'm recording at the same time. But you can see here what it's doing is it's actually taking the URL, sending it across to MPD, and actually giving us the desktop notification as to the song that's playing, because there is no way to inject metadata into a pre-existing audio stream without basically kind of recording it and then injecting the metadata, which you don't want to do, so you want to stream it. So what I'll do is I'll show you the actual code. Okay, let me just show it to you in the up here in my dot files. I think it's my bin directory. Okay, and this goes to the Freebsd bin directory. I also have it in my Ubuntu bin directory. It's so I can cross in here. Pinch. Okay, so this is a Bourne shell script. You can see by the shebang up here, bin sh. You should always do stuff as a bin sh file, Bourne shell, and not as bash, because bash is not crash. The location of bash on different operating systems is different. So on FreeBSD, bash is installed in different places to Linux. So if you have just bin bash, it won't work on FreeBSD because that's not the correct location. And bash has a lot of stuff that's only specific to bash, so you should always write stuff as Bourne shell scripts which are POSIX compliant. So first of all, what we've got up here is a little function called usage that basically we use to echo the usage of the script. We then have some variables down here that for error messages, like invalid option, requires an argument, wrong number of arguments passed to the script. So first of all, the first chunk of code we got down here is the number of arguments is greater than 0. Echo wrong asks error. So this bit of code on the right only gets executed if this bit of code on the left fails. So if we run the script without any arguments, basically it's going to say, it's going to print out the error message saying wrong number of arguments passed to the script. Next down here, what we use is a built-in function called getOpt, which allows us to parse options that have been specified on the command line. So, like for instance, -i in the URL, or typically you have like you run a script and you do -h, which displays the help. So you can see in this bit of code here, what we're checking for the -i and -h options, and if someone passes the -h option, basically what it's going to do is run this block of code up here, this function here, which will echo the base name of the script, -i and the URL to explain how to use the script. Now this -i option here, basically what this does is it sets input to opt arg, and basically what that means is the input, this variable input, is going to be set to the argument you pass after the -i option, which is going to be the URL. So you run a script pinch -i input with the URL, and then this variable input will then store the URL. Now we have these other options down here, which are basically do catch errors, so that you pass the wrong options on the command line, that it's going to pick that up and throw an error and exit the script. Now this is the sort of main section here, and basically what this does is we've got 3 variables here. The first one is set to this chunk of code here: YouTube DL, no check certificate, no playlist, -e, -f, bed audio, -g input. So what this means is the input is going to be the input that you provided after the -i option. Obviously, we're running YouTube no deal, no check certificate is something so that it doesn't. Sometimes you can get an issue with SSL certificates with YouTube DL because Google updates stuff. Sometimes YouTube DL has played catch up as you get SSL errors, and it's kind of try to work around it. This -no playlist option, basically what that means is that if we select a video that is in a playlist, we just want to send that song across to APD and not the entire playlist. The -e option actually prints out the title of the song, so like Ragged Twin 69, for instance. Okay, and then the -f best audio allows us to select the best audio stream from that video, and the -g option basically just print out the URL. So what this will do, this URL variable will then contain the song's title and also the URL in one variable. Now the problem is we then need to work out how we can get the URL and the name extracted from that variable, and we use awk to do that. So there's two things we need to do. We need to extract the URL and the actual song title. Excuse me. So what we do is we echo the URL, use awk, and we set f the delimiter. This is basically awk works on different fields. So if something is separated with spaces, you can say, apple, orange, pear. You can say specify spaces of the delimiter, and then you can select the one of the options, like 1 for apple, or 2 for orange, or 3 for pear. But what we're doing here is we're actually setting the delimiter to a space, and we're searching for HTTPS, and we're printing 1. And what this will do is this will set the delimiter of the space, and then the song title will have spaces in it, so we can't just say I'll separate it with space and select number 2 or number 1. That doesn't work. We have to set the delimiter to space, search for HTTPS, which is going to be the URL, print 1, and that's going to print the audio URL. And for the name, what we do is something slightly different. We set the delimiter to be HTTPS, okay? So because the song title is going to have spaces in, we can't use a space. So we select HTTPS to be the delimiter. So there's going to be a song title and a URL. We set it to be the delimiter to be HTTPS, and then we print the first option, which is going to be before HTTPS, which is going to be the name of the song. Okay, we then have the function down here, okay, which is going to do all the work, and we call the function down here at the end with the URL that running. So what we do in this section here is we actually have to check if the MPD playlist is empty, if anything is playing, and insert the song and play the song that's been inserted. So we check if nothing's playing, if the playlist is empty. If that's the case, we then add the link, not the URL. So we add the link, which is the basically the link that we extracted from the URL variable, without the URL variable is going to contain both the name and the URL. So we add the link, then with MPC. So first of all, we look at the correct thing here. When we add the link, we play, and we do notify send, now playing, and -name. Okay, and the name is up here, this variable up here, which is the name of the song. that we've extracted from the URL variable using awk. So what it's going to do is it's going to check if anything's playing or the playlist is empty, add the link, play it, and then run notify send now playing, and you can see I've got a little music icon there. You can use anything you want there, and then it's going to display the name. If the playlist is not empty, we have to clear it, add the URL and play. So we npc clear, add the link, play, notify send now playing name, and then basically the other option is the audio is playing. So what we have to do is insert the URL, play it next. So we insert the URL. You've got different options for MPC to interact with MPD. You can add or you can insert a link, inserting and the link after the company playing bit of audio. And then what we do is if something's playing, we insert it after the company playing thing. We move to the next item in the playlist, which is we've inserted, which will play it, and then we run notify send, which will display the notification up here. Basically, NC MPC is the client that I'm using. There's another program called NC MPC PP, which has a option in it to run notify send each time you change the track. But that wouldn't work in this case because, as I've said previously, the item we're sending to MPD doesn't have any metadata, it's the URL. So all that would display would be a bloody great URL in a pop-up, which is no good. So that's why for running a particular script, I've got it set up so that it will send the URL to MPD player, and also create the desktop notification showing the name of the song playing, because the client just displays the URL, which isn't very helpful. So that's basically the little script that I created. And basically the way that we use this with with the W3M browser, it'll come across into my doc files. So if I come to my W3M configuration directory, you see the config file, and basically the W3M browser allows you to create external browsers which are then bound to keyboard shortcuts. So for instance, these are the external browsers that I find, like MPV, and this one here, the second browser, and I've specified the full path to the script with the -i option, which is required for the script, which basically says, what's coming on .i is the option we're sending, and the -s here is specific to W3M. It's basically the URL that the cursor's over, and then we run it in the background. So basically what happens is then when I'm on a link in W3M, I can press to escape M, and it will send the link across. So to escape, was it Shift M? Yeah, I think it's Shift M. Maybe it's not Shift M. Accidentally, sometimes that opened up in MPV because I ham-fistedly muddled the keyboard. So if I type to escape Shift M, that should, have I done it again or not? I think it's going to open. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can see now playing. And it's just a bit of lag because as I'm recording on this on a 2 2011 MacBook Air with 4 gig RAM, so it's kind of showing its age a bit. So that's basically how we can create a custom script that we can execute from W3M to extract the audio, send it to music player, MD music player, and pop up a desktop notification. So that was some stuff with xmonad, setting up HCG, the pointer, shush on setting up shush with system D, disabling the graphical login on Ubuntu. Then you do sudo systemctl set default multi-user -target, disable GDM, edit your grub file, change that to text, update grub. That will allow you to start xmonad with startx on Ubuntu, and stop the gnome session interfering with your xmonad setup. I've actually got xmonad running on. I've got 2 MacBook Airs from 2011, identical machines, exactly the same amount of RAM, exactly the same setup. Running xmonad. Which one do you think's faster, Ubuntu or Freebsd at starting xmonad? You think it'd be Ubuntu, wouldn't you? It's not. It's Freebsd. If I start xmonad from startx on Ubuntu, it takes about 4 or 5 seconds for the desktop to appear, for it to draw, for it to bring up xmobile or the wallpaper. So it takes about 4 or 5 seconds on Ubuntu to launch xmonad. On FreeBSD it takes about 1 or 2 seconds at most. So the idea that FreeBSD is just servers and slow, it doesn't cut it. It's actually, in some cases, it's actually faster than Linux, and sort of actually a hell of a lot less trouble to actually get set up, as opposed to getting stuff set up on Ubuntu or something, because as I said, you kind of have to work around some things like disabling the graphical login, so that xmonad, running it as a gnome session. Because as I said, even if you run as a gnome session, you can open some of the gnome applications, calculator, things like that will work fine. But you can try and open the gnome control center, it will open one and it will crash. So it's not really any good to you. So that's why you want to disable the graphical login on Ubuntu, because it interferes with xmonad setting the desktop wallpaper. Which brings me on to one more thing that I almost forgot, actually how you set the desktop wallpaper on xmonad with multiple displays. So if I come across and switch across here, you'll see that I've just got my little wallpaper set here, which is a background colour in this image. So what you need to do, if I come back across to my dot files, is what we're doing is running Fay. I've got, where's my Fay? Fay.bg. So what I have here is when you run Fay, it will actually you will sort of pick up this script. So you have Fay, no Fay BG. You have to set this so that when it runs, it doesn't kind of overwrite this. With background, we're creating a background center, so the image is going to be centered. The image can have a background color, and this is part of the image. Now, if I'm across to my xinitrc file, there's 3 things. There's one is Fay, creating the script, which we also want to make executable. Change mod +x dot f8.bg. Then your xinitrc file, this applies to Ubuntu as well as Freebsd. And this is a critical point. You have to start Fay before you start xmonad, otherwise the wallpaper won't be set. So if you try running Fay after you've started xmonad, nothing's going to happen and you'll be baffled. So what you do is you run Fay. You see, this is basically the same code as in my script. So what happens is when I start startx, what's going to happen is it's going to set the wallpaper, then it's going to execute the SSH agent and start xmonad. Now the secret sauce is actually having a bit of code in your shell file as an alias. So in that case I'm using CSH. If I open this up, come down to my aliases down here, if I can get to it eventually. Bear with me. Okay. This section here, I've defined two aliases, HDMI on and HDMI off. So what happens is when I plug in when I start up xmonad, what happens is by default the xmonad is going to be displayed the same on both displays. Yeah, so it'll have the same window on both displays. So first of all, what you do is, at least what I always do is wrong window, is run xrandr. So you run xrandr, and what that does is that detects the monitors and stuff. So what I do is when I plug in, when I've just started xmonad, I run xrandr, and then I run HDMI on, and then basically what that does is it then sets the larger monitor that I have to be right on my laptop screen. And this is the crucial bit down here, is after we've done that, this and means if this command to the left succeeded, run this command. So after I've run HDMI on, I then run the fay.bg script and send the output to dev null. And what that does is that will correctly set the wallpaper on both displays. Because otherwise what will happen is you will find that the wallpaper will be correctly set on one display, but it will be tiled all over the shop on the other display, and you try and figure out how to fix that. And this is the solution I use to accomplish that. So basically I run xrandr when I just plug the thing in, that detects the displays. I then run HDMI on, that then positions the larger display to the right of my laptop. If I want to disconnect, I just run HDMI off, and that basically turns off the HDMI output and runs the Fay script, again sends the output to dev null, and that correctly makes sure that the wallpaper is set on my laptop. So the three steps are: one, you basically create the fay.bg file script to set the wallpaper. You start it in your xinitrc file before you start xmonad, and then thirdly, you're going to want to create some aliases in your shell configuration file that will be different from this depending on your monitor setup. You'll need to look into that, but this will basically allow you to have the wallpaper set correctly on both displays when you plug them in or out. And this is another reason why you actually want to use startx as opposed to a graphical login. As I said, Fay can't set the wallpaper for a known session. So if you run xmonad with a graphical display on Ubuntu, what will happen is no one will take over your wallpaper and you won't be able to set it properly with Fay. I think there's another program called nitrogen that might be able to do that. Or the other issue, the other workaround is using set boot and setting the colour of the root window, which should be the background. But that's a kind of a bit of a workaround. So that's why I recommend turning off any graphical display login you've got, because it will then run xmonad, at least on Ubuntu, as an own flashback session, which will kind of put some known awfulness into your xmonad and cause you no end of problems. And you won't even be able to use the GNOME applications like the Control Center, because it's so baked into the GNOME shell it won't work outside of GNOME different desktop environments. So that's just some notes on xmonad on Ubuntu and FreeBSD. And at least one thing that surprised me is how much faster FreeBSD is at starting xmonad compared to Ubuntu. My highly scientific tests, me counting in my head, it took at least 4 or 5 seconds for Ubuntu to start and load, create the startup. I have Emacs and some stuff starting up, and it took about 4 or 5 seconds to draw the wallpaper, do the xmobile and start applications. Whereas with FreeBSD it was 1-2 seconds at most. So that's just one thing I sort of come across. Exactly the same setup, both machines. FreeBSD is faster than Linux. Go figure. Anyway, that's it for now. So I'll stop here.